So when creating a new IT operating model as a precursor to digital transformation, TransGrid's Chief Information Officer, Russell Morris, realised that simply having technology conversations with the business team is not necessarily the best way to get them to engage. Focusing on business outcomes, team chemistry and relationships was the key to driving change. In his own words, psychology is more important than technology. Hello, I'm CIO Australia's Editor-in-Chief Byron Connolly, and today I'm speaking with Russell about how and why he created a new IT operating model with human behaviours in mind, the results achieved and lessons learned. Now, I'm going to start off by asking you, it can be said that many tech projects fail because teams fall in love with the shiny new look of technology and expect that it's going to bring miraculous change without actually changing any of the existing processes or people. Now, when you created a new IT operating model at TransGrid, how did you take into account the human behaviours, and why is it so important to do that when you're undertaking this sort of process?
That's a really good question. Thanks. I think it's a well understood adage in the world of sales that people buy from people. And that means people they like, and very often it means people that understand them, people with the same values and goals. So I just simply stopped to ask, how aligned is IT to that value set? And we were like most IT functions, I think, a single centralized department, a bit like a supermarket. You could get most of what you wanted, but wasn't specialized in anything. And that really resulted in the business collaborating with IT when they knew their ask was our stock in trade. But then perhaps looking elsewhere and finding other avenues when they perceived we'd be too slow to respond. I think dealing with the inevitable what's in it for me question, which actually, if you say that same sentence again with different emphasis, it becomes what's in IT for me. And I think that became the thing that we started to look at. And the objective was really building shared values and goals that we could jointly strive for and try and blur the lines really between what's in IT, what's in the business, focus on a one team approach to a whole of business outcome rather than just an IT specific one.
Yep. Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about what your new IT operating model looks like and how you, I guess, took people along for the ride. I mean, how did they respond to this new level of engagement compared to the way that you've done things in the past when deploying new technologies and new technology programs?
Yeah, I think like any change, there was cautious optimism, perhaps is the way I could phrase it. It's really started to bed in now, and we've had some fantastic feedback and unsolicited feedback. People going out of their way to come up and say that they're noticing a difference. And before this journey, which is just a never-ending one of continuous improvement, I don't think you can ever stop adjusting or adapting. By the way, IT would typically lead with the IT requirements, the security parameters, the reasons the system we have already isn't so bad if you just got used to it. It all sounds a bit like yes, but instead of yes, and so there's a concept, don't know if you've come across, the day in the life of, month in the life of, sometimes abbreviated to DILO, MILO. Yeah. And it's basically just means walking the mile in the shoes of other people, understanding what their value drivers are, understanding what matters to them. And I get, look, like every business, there's detractors in there, and maybe they've worked in the business along. It really hurts to have those people kind of white ant the process. Yeah. So the advice I'd give there, just find the detractors early, get them in the tent, and build a bit of empathy. It's amazing how quickly you can turn them around. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, why would people not feel that this was the right way to go? I mean, why did you have detractors, I guess? I guess because IT had been the same way for such a long time. It had always been the universal single department. At one point had a discretionary budget that was pretty substantial that it would just use to please people. And it didn't really help drive a business outcome. It would just give out tech, and then we would perhaps not follow through as to how it was being used. So we were lining up to be different for a different set of outcomes, and we've got a long tenure of employee at TransGrid, and there's always that risk of something different being resisted.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we got on this call, you told me a story that when you first moved to Australia, you alluded to this a little bit at the beginning of our conversation. You noticed that food stocked by a local IGA grocer, and this is a nice little example, reflected the cultural backgrounds of the population in each suburb. So that's a strategy that I guess enterprises should adopt too. You know, what the
Yeah.
finance function needs from IT is perhaps what different to what other departments across the business want. Do you feel that too many organisations don't think long and hard enough about how to tailor technology services to different departments with different people with different requirements?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I think know your customer and give them what they want and not what you think they want.
Yeah.
And we took a distinct shift from centralized and traditional plan, build, run model, and then embrace the business aligned domain model. Before, if you planned something, you would hand it over to the build team or they would hand it over to the run team.
Yeah.
And the designer might not ever follow through to know actually how it felt in the business. And that just was a massive gap. So at TransGrid, we've got clear demarcation. Let's simplify it just to say front office, where you've got the customer facing business growth, asset management, works delivery team. And then you've got the back office, the essential support services like finance, legal, governance and risk, HR, procurement, those type of functions. And the business outcomes that a traditional blue collar, heavy engineering field worker needed to deliver requires a very different set of technologies to that, say, of a financial analyst.
Yeah.
And why are we turning up with a universal face to distinctly different problems? And that's why we made the shift. So I think Gartner called this type of approach bimodal, but to be honest, it's just common sense to me. So our IT domain lead for the front office of the business is himself a chartered electrical engineer by trade, helps him empathize, walk a mile in the shoes of others. We're already tailoring solutions for the field staff, like an office in a box, which is a kit with a high gain antenna that gets you connectivity back to base from almost anywhere. Yeah. And you never get the finance guy asking you for that. And the domain lead for business technology or the back office element has got a financial and analytical background and understand much better the need for rapid and accurate reporting, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you feel that, I guess, the reputation of your IT department is better now than it has been in the past due to these changes that you've made? I mean, because in the past, I guess a lot of IT departments, due to project failures, I suppose, over the years, hasn't been so crash hot. I'm not saying every IT department is hated by the rest of the business. What I'm saying is that the reputation of IT departments should be better than it has been. Do you think that people view the technology group more favourably now because of this?
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that we're trying to essentially dissolve the IT department from being that centralised, sometimes department of no or not yet, to actually being embedded in the teams. So the IT goals for this financial year are not IT goals anymore. They're just business goals. So how is IT going to help this particular executive group or leader deliver on their outcomes? How are we going to turn up to their team meetings and really understand and empathize? And we've developed individual domain roadmaps now, so we can see out for the next 2 years what's going to happen in their domain. And they've got a chance to come in and co-create and empathize and build that together. And I think that's just fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, is there any one piece of advice, I guess, you would give to other CIOs who want to work harder to understand why the human element is so important? What do you think the key things are there that CIOs need to be aware of when they're dealing with people?
Cool. One piece of advice, that's a tough one. I think probably walk a mile in the shoes of others and try and be the change you want to see other people be. I guess if you want better collaboration, then become more collaborative. If you want better business outcomes, then improve your level of understanding. But I think it's all about just getting out there and becoming embedded and really listen, understand, and then do.
So do you think that this you know, looking at this from a different perspective, looking at from a human perspective and how technology, how humans interact, people interact with technology, do you think, I guess, this new operating model will allow you to, I guess, roll out innovations quicker than you have in the past and get things off the ground and moving and be able to prove to the business that your technology can actually, you know, deliver real benefits for the business and help it meet its objectives? Do you think that you're going to be able to do things a lot faster than you have been previously? You're going to be more agile?
I think, yeah, probably we will be more agile. I think the thing that we're already starting to do is we've coined a term of value drops, which is incremental business value on a technology journey. So if you've got a 12-month project or a 2-year project, then let's not wait until the end to demonstrate the business value that you've generated. Let's have quarterly value drops where we explain that we've delivered this business at value, where something is now X% better than it was before, or more efficient than it was before. And you don't have the project to show that there's capability or that the value is, it could be or even like that. But that really helps to bring people along.
Absolutely. And how do the other C-levels on your board feel about this? Are they happy that you're engaging better with the rest of the business now? The CEO and the like, the CFO?
I think I think it does help because we understand them distinctly better, and we can talk to the CFO about things happening in his department that perhaps we didn't see before. They were business drivers that IT attached themselves to if it could find a way in. But now we're in their lockstep. We can say, hey, do you know we've made X% progress on the thing that's important to you? And that helps to build that connection. Whereas before, I think perhaps IT was only called if there was a technology issue. Yeah. But now we're looking to get called when there's a business issue and apply our expertise of technology on that problem. Sounds similar, but it's a distinctly different way of doing things.
Yeah, for sure. Now I've got to ask this question. I mean, the COVID pandemic has thrown, I guess, the global economy into a spin. There's a lot of devastation going on around the world in a lot of industries. I mean, how have you dealt with COVID so far this year? I mean, what have you done on a technology front to make sure that the organisation can get through the pandemic and people can remain connected?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I know lots of organisations around the world have been suffering from this challenge. We were pretty fortunate that we'd started a unified comms strategy before COVID had hit, and probably 3 weeks before the kind of real issues of COVID occurred, we'd mobilised our teams with a WebEx tool to be able to collaborate and to talk from home. And as we then moved from kind of green team, blue teams into working alternate weeks in the office, and then ultimately everyone out and working from home, we had an ability for them to try the technology before that had happened. Whereas I know that some organisations were a lot more challenged in having to try and teach people while they're already at home. So I think that you could call that good planning, but it was probably just good luck in that we managed to finish that adoption just before COVID hit. So that really helped. We had about 50 or 60 supportive comments from the business, which we put up on the wall of the service desk to give them a boost. And it was just great from the executive level right down to the teams in the field, just really saying, we didn't expect this response from IT. And we're really happy we got it, and thank you. And it's just really great to get that unsolicited thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that. All right, Russell, that's all we've got time for. Thank you very much, Matt. It's been great talking to you. And it sounds like that you have really got across the human element of IT there. So I wish you all the best in the future, and thanks for spending time with us today.
No, it's been fantastic. Thanks, Byron. Great chat. Thank you.
Thank you, mate. Talk later. Bye.
Cheers.